goes the encoder, and you're good to go.
Hey, what's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Trash Pandas. I'm one of your amazing hosts, Lauren, and this is my beautiful co-host,
Lindsay.
And we are back with like the second part of HBO's The Vow. And finally, we have Documentary Dave in the fucking room.
Nexium 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Anything with Electric Boogaloo automatically sounds like a great time.
In a world of really boring sex cults.
It's like
can we just agree? Because I wasn't feeling it last week, and there was so much chaos.
so true.
But can we just agree that this was probably like 4 episodes too long? Like let's just be
we
honest.
can for sure agree on that. We've been saying that.
I couldn't believe when you sent me that article that there was going to be a second season. I was like, about what?
What more is there?
There's
literally
God, who
nothing
knows?
else to
Well,
talk
so who
about.
is it? The dumbass that Billy, whatever his name was, that was behind the Fire Festival and all that chaos that's been in jail.
Yeah.
So apparently he's now in solitary confinement, if you missed that memo, because he was recording a podcast over his phone calls, allegedly to his lawyers, but to someone who was making this a podcast, because he wanted to tell, quote unquote, his side of the story. Now, my question here is, Skippy, you were paid by Hulu to be a part of their because they were dueling documentaries between Hulu and Netflix. Netflix would not pay him. Hulu did.
Yeah.
So you were paid by Hulu to tell your side of the story. So, I'm sorry. I just realized I was surprised. I just realized that I was surprised that someone convicted of fraud was possibly committing fraud again. I answer. I love when I answer my own questions. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that's what's so
here we
funny
are.
is like on the last episode of The Vow season 1, Keith Raniere starts talking to somebody from jail. So what I can infer is that season 2 is going to be some of his bullshit from jail about telling his side of the story.
They always have to have their side.
Well, of course. I mean, he's a classic narcissist.
He's like, don't be a victim. Oh my God, I'm a victim.
Oh.
What is happening?
So that was the breaking news that hit this week. Is he was sentenced to what, 120 years?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Amazing.
I do, and I was talking with a couple other people, and I'm like, there is a part of me that really regrets that I'm a decent human being, and I don't have the capacity in me to actually start a cult, because it seems like it's a really fun ride while it lasts. Like if you're the guy, I feel like David Koresh, dude, got laid a lot. There's that, so but Waco ended in fire and death. So you gotta you take the good with the bad.
But
exactly.
but look at the rest of his ride is going to be in a jail cell. I would not. That ride's not worth it for me.
No.
Oh no, it's
That
not
ride's
worth it
not
for
worth it for
anybody.
me.
But a lot of people will go through with it because they were like, I don't think I'll ever get caught.
Well, right, and
and
he obviously thought that he wasn't
oh,
going
absolutely, and he didn't think. I think that he legitimately was just like, I'm not doing anything wrong, even if you sit there and go sex trafficking women is fucking wrong. He's just like. Yeah, only in certain capacities, though.
Right.
And, not what I was doing, because this is all consensual.
See, I always refer to that as the Uber defense. One of the things I realized very quickly is that Uber and pimps use the exact same defense strategy in court.
Okay.
They don't actually do anything wrong. They just put 2 consenting adults together, take a little cut off the top, and then whatever happens between those 2 consenting adults is up to them.
Right, it's just whatever happens there. No, it doesn't matter if you're murdered or anything. Or
What's so insane about the 120 years is that there are people like Chris Watts, who that wasn't even 120 years. Well, and I'm not it's so hard to compare.
There's
crimes,
a million people,
but I'm
I could
literally this guy annihilated his entire family, and he didn't get a sentence.
First of all, I'm not trying to
and so I don't know if it's sorry to cut you off. I don't.
Go
but
ahead,
I'm is it so that he can't legally maneuver his way out in any way, shape, or form?
So I think part of it when it comes to cases like this is, and the sad reality is with Watts, you only had a certain number of charges.
Right.
That he could get hit with.
Yeah.
And I mean, and technically speaking, he is serving life with, and that's the difference, is
Yeah.
he's serving life with, like, and I believe, if I recall correctly, it is a
Without-
natural life clause.
Yeah, okay.
Like, so, like, life you can still get parole
Right.
from.
Right.
Natural life,
Right.
you
You
do not.
cannot, right.
You're there until you're done.
Until you die. Right.
So, and I think so. Like, part of this, and you do see this in a lot of cases, and this has been one of the things that people have had a problem with in certain cases, because you see charge stacking,
Yeah.
where they basically throw as much shit at you as humanly possible, because you never know what a jury's going to do.
Right.
And so, kind of like, the whole thing about, the police officers,
Yeah.
in the George Floyd situation,
Yeah.
where, there's a reason why they're not charging them with first-degree murder, because they know, historically speaking, juries will not convict on a first-degree murder charge in those situations. Second degree, but they are stacking second degree, manslaughter, reckless endangerment, conduct on, so all that stuff. So they are doing what they can, knowing how juries act and react to things.
Right.
So, wasn't within the George Floyd case? Sorry, we're way off, but like,
Not really.
wasn't that the what was his name?
Chauvin?
Yeah, wasn't he?
Sorry, remember, you can't spell chauvinistic without Chauvin.
Didn't
my
didn't they recently drop the second degree murder?
No.
Because they were going to pursue the first.
So actually, the biggest development in that case, I believe, is they granted him bail, and then allowed him to leave the state as a condition of his bail, because of his concerns about security. Well, hey, here's an idea: don't kill anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't kill anybody,
Don't murder people.
yeah, if you don't kill somebody,
Right.
that sparks a national
Right.
movement.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, and the flip side of that is the.
Especially if it sparks a national
Well, yeah,
movement.
because political pressures. But like, so speaking of political pressures, the 17-year-old kid
Yeah.
that went to Kenosha and shot two and
Yeah,
killed two people and injured
yeah.
one, just got. It was so he ran. So, and I didn't realize it was that close. His hometown was only 10 miles across the border.
I lived right there.
Oh, so like I didn't realize it was like I knew he had crossed the border.
I lived in that part of Illinois.
Okay.
And we went to Kenosha like.
So yeah, he was literally
super
10
close.
miles away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and there was Wisconsin obviously wants to extradite him back to
Yeah.
Wisconsin for his trial,
Right.
and of course he was fighting it,
Right.
or his lawyer was fighting it, and so I absolutely love when judges are just like Judge Judy-ish. No, like when judges like get kind of Judge Judy-ish, and they're just like, are you effing kidding me? Like, so
Yeah.
because his lawyer was trying to say, oh, well, it wasn't, filed properly, de facto, prima facie, like me when I
Yeah.
techno babble at people.
Yeah.
Well, the TCP/IP stack and the
Yeah.
firewall and it was a routing table
Yeah.
issue with the BGP, and just hoping that somebody
Yeah.
stops listening and they just agree with you no matter what. I feel like, but if you're a lawyer talking to a judge, you should know that's not going to work. So his extradition got approved to go from Illinois back to
Yeah.
Wisconsin for the trial, and so yeah, waiting to see. That's the one I'm waiting to see how that plays out, because he is facing first degree charges.
What I
Oh.
that's great because he should.
Thankfully.
Because that was definitely premeditated in every sense of the word. But also, did you just read the news about one of the guys that was planning to kidnap Governor Whitmer? And he wants to be released on bail because he has diabetes and he is worried about COVID.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh,
I'm
wait.
concerned
Wow,
about
the fucking irony of you being concerned about COVID. And
Well,
you
and
were
I
like-
love the defense that they're throwing out for, and it might even be the same guy, that they were just talking. Like it was
Oh,
like it's
yeah.
like the plot was so absurd it was never gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's no way they were
Yeah.
ever gonna actually try
they
to
did
do this.
training, and it was like
I'm like,
them just
dude, you were like-
videotaping them like driving down a track and then shooting at something randomly.
Oh,
Like,
they-
okay.
Oh, yeah, they were as I love to call them. They were absolutely Meal Team 6, and they were little Branch Covidians having their in celebrations, and that's the best part is they have all of these videos and all and that's the beauty of it is I don't understand. There's been so many documentaries and so many of these cases about these militia groups and
Right.
or like back to David Koresh, where there's there's always someone on the inside. There's
Yes.
always
Duh.
there's always an FBI informant there.
They were caught for a reason.
And yet, if they were criminal masterminds, they wouldn't be in a friggin' militia.
They're not Ocean's 11. not Brad Pitt and
No,
George Clooney.
They're more Broshans 11.
Broshans,
They're more,
right.
Broshans 11.
Yeah. right. Exactly.
I
but
think we might have to make our episode called
Broshans
Broshans 11.
but yeah, I mean, it makes me and like literally that I love
Oh
that the
my
defense they're
God.
coming up with is that basically they're saying they were too stupid to actually have carried through
Oh my God.
anything they were planning.
Perfect.
I love that. That's a phenomenal defense. I'm
Right.
too dumb to have actually carried out the crime
Oh my
that I was planning to
God.
commit.
I
That's-
love that. That's actually like I'm kind
Kind
of
of a
just like that's
brilliant
great.
defense.
I hope
Not gonna lie.
guys
Like-
really
I'm sa-
try to use
Like,
that.
and I do. I want a judge. I want that defense to get before a judge, and I want the judge to go and just like kind of like laugh and shake his head and go, you know what?
I'm too dumb.
That's absolutely brilliant, and I believe
you're right.
you, and I believe you are
And you're
stupid.
right.
But the case is still moving
Right,
forward.
right.
Sure, sure.
right.
And I would love for that to happen, but I would just
Right.
love for them to just be like, you are too stupid.
Right.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
but you tried.
Yeah.
And trying is what you're
Right.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's
convicted
yeah.
of.
You're not charged with kidnapping. You're
Right.
charged with
Attempted-
plotting and
Right.
attempting
right.
to
and
kidnap
you
someone.
And you still like put Governor Whitmer and her family through like psychological terror.
Right.
Like
right.
Well, and I do, and I love, and and I'm sorry, I know we've completely sidetracked off the vow, but I love that their plan was basically to kidnap her from her house, and take her to Wisconsin.
So I actually
Like-
know somebody. Like I don't know him personally. I've met him personally, but I know somebody that's on my Facebook, and he is like a lawyer, and he is like super anti-Whitmer, and he like is constantly trying to like get people off for like stupid bullshit. Okay, and he was like going to her house with like a weed whacker when they weren't allowed to like have
Do
like,
haircuts and oh yeah.
exactly. He went to her house with a weed whacker, like, oh,
Like,
I'm weed whacking the front of your house. I'm like, you're doing her a
Yeah,
favor.
like, gee, thanks,
Yeah,
dude.
She's having a great time right now. Like, thank you.
Like
for
I don't have to worry about my
And-
lawn
Right.
service this week.
But there were other people there
Way
with
to
him with
stick it
like
to me.
guns and shit, and I'm sitting there going like, okay, she has like children and
Yeah,
stuff,
she's
and
still a
how
human
scary
being.
is that
Yeah.
for them to be like, there's
Yeah.
somebody outside with fucking guns?
Like I'm not gonna lie, I really, and I tried to pull this together, but I did not have enough time or actually because I was too dumb to actually pull this off. But what I really wanted to do was when they were doing the whole protest where they brought in like barber chairs and set them up outside the Capitol building in Lansing, and they were cutting people's hair. I really wanted like a bunch of friends with like pickup trucks to come out and bring like Aquanet and spray glue and leaf blowers. And I wanted to like blow the hair back on them and have it stick and like make
With
them all
leaves?
and make them all look like Wookiees. Like that was I feel like that would have been amazing. I feel like that yeah.
They all look like Wookiees.
I would have been totally
They
down for
have
that.
just like hair all
And, like that would have like that would like see that's the thing, like that's my level of being a criminal mastermind. Like I
I want to make you all look like Wookiees.
like I've never
I know cosmetologists that straight up like they do everything they're supposed to do. They do contract tracing. They wear their fucking masks. Like, how hard is that? Just you can still do your job. It's okay. Do that. Like, why is this like some big thing where it's
well, because
like,
a bunch
we
of Karens
have to...
wanted a haircut.
I know.
When we couldn't do anything.
And you only had to
when we
wait a
were-
couple of months. Like, it's really not that big of a
Oh
deal.
my God.
Y'all, first of all, y'all go way longer than you should
Yeah.
for a trim
Yeah.
or
When
or
it's
any
not a
kind- yeah,
pandemic.
when it's
Oh
not
yeah,
a
dude,
pandemic.
I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason why I'm not on camera right now. Like I'm starting to get back to like my 1970s Battlestar Galactica Starbuck hair, and I'm not a big fan. And it's just because I keep forgetting. Like I
And
keep
that's fine.
yeah.
Like places are open. You can go if you wanted to.
I could.
You just, you know what I mean? Like it's not that big of a deal. But it's like these people are like going crazy about like I just want to get my hair cut.
Well, which
and I'm like, holy shit, dude! It's
and-
really not that big of a
and
deal.
is that and that's the thing. Like, and I get it. I've actually stopped arguing with a lot of people. Like I've gotten to the point in my life where like I don't have the energy to try to
Yeah.
either A, argue or B, educate anymore. I just
Yeah.
don't. especially now. Because I'm sorry, like if we're almost 8 months into this and you don't get that this is real, and again, I get quarantine fatigue. I get there is nobody who wishes that I could go around we could wrap this show and we could walk around the corner and go to Temple Bar and there'd be 150 people on the dance floor and we'd all be throwing our arms around each other and trading shots and being stupid and nobody wants that more than me. But that's not the world we're in.
But it's not real life.
That's not where we are.
It's not where we are.
And so it kind of gets into I'm sorry, Nexium? What? But no, this gets like people keep trying to put in place these short-term stopgap solutions, trying to get quote unquote back to normal when that no longer exists. Like, and I think I forget who the comedian was. There was a great comic that had a whole shtick about like when you get divorced and the woman's like, well, I need X amount of dollars to maintain the lifestyle to which I was accustomed to. And he's like, well, I was accustomed to getting laid twice a week. Like, is that gonna stay this way?
Okay, I hate that.
I was accustomed to making this amount of money before you were around. So
But no, I mean but that's not your life anymore, and that just is what it is. And that's the hard. So so now you have this cult leader in jail who hopefully is learning that life is not what it was.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, and I always wonder, like, I've always wondered, like, because there's been very few documentaries. Like, I've always wondered how, like, Manson did in prison, and how these cult leaders really, like, when they're outside of that cult of personality. How do they fare on the and honestly, like, that might be the best part of a part 2 is getting to see like him getting his ass beat on a daily basis.
Just like on
it's just 2 episodes of just him getting his ass beat.
If you've ever watched Mindhunter on Netflix, they do like an interview with Manson, and he is just as I don't want to say like charming, but just as like
he has
a gravity.
He absolutely does, and it's like
and that even like the FBI investigators were like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Well, so and that's that's one of the that's the one of the scary things is like people make those comparisons.
Yeah.
Not to get me, but with Trump and like so like Manson never killed anybody.
No, I know.
Right.
He never technically speaking.
No, he didn't.
Never did anything.
I mean,
wrong.
look at Hitler. Same thing. It's like, it's this idea that's he didn't do anything. Well, he did.
Well, and let's remember, this is what happened. See, and this is a very good parallel to today's world. Hitler is what happened. Hitler was an art teacher. So when you piss off teachers, bad things can happen.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, remember that, world?
I believe that. I've seen this one angry, and I do not want to make her really that upset.
I do get upset.
No.
Yeah, I do.
What?
I get scary. I can be scary. I'm intimidating.
Oh, you're so intimidating right now. I'm intimidating.
I'm so intimidating.
I love
Hey,
it.
okay, so before we dive in, one quick thing, just as a reminder to everybody, dude, get your asses out and vote for the love of God.
Vote.
Like,
Where's my shirt?
I
Power to the polls.
swear to God, I wasn't staring at your chest. I was noticing the powerful message that was there. No, but it's I turned my ballot in. I brought mine to the city clerk.
yeah,
Done, gone. I love that there was a stat that came out today that said the early voting in Texas already exceeds the total number of ballots cast in the last election.
I saw that it was like 79 million people have voted already, and I just wanted to say really quick, I actually volunteered to go and like collect data and send it back and everything. So I'm actually going to be at the polls in Ferndale and Farmington to collect some data and send it to them and everything as soon as everything's done. And I am so happy and so excited for how many young people are going out there and voting right now.
Yes.
And if you are undecided on whether or not you want to vote, please just do it.
Yeah,
If
apathy
you,
is not.
I don't care who you're
making
voting
a
for.
political stance.
I don't care.
It's
don't
dumb.
I do care.
I care.
I do. I'm not. That's what I'm saying is I do care who you vote for, and I am judging you.
But I do.
However,
But I do care more that you get your voice out there.
I just want you to go vote. That's what I really care about.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see that there are so many people out there that are going out and voting right now. It's super important.
So
Please
yeah,
do it.
I mean, yes, young people, please go.
Please go vote.
Have you watched? So I guess it's another documentary. Have you watched Whose Vote Counts on Netflix?
No.
No.
So it's a quick watch. I highly recommend it. It's only about 25 minutes long, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And it has like AOC in it. It has Arnold
love
Schwarzenegger in it.
AOC.
It has, and it's phenomenal. It is literally the history in 25 minutes of everything
Oh.
that rich white landowning males have done to try to keep
perfect.
everybody else from voting.
Interesting.
Everything from poll tax,
Yeah.
I was talking with this with an earlier show a couple days ago. Originally, you just had to be a landowner, and then they realized that guys were dying and leaving property to their wives.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then women were showing up
Weird.
to vote, and they were like, okay, well, we can't have that. So so then it was you had to be to be a male landowner,
Yeah.
and then it was
White
and then it
male.
was okay. Well,
Yeah.
you had to have okay. First it was money, and then they realized that there were some guys out there that liked their black wives and liked their black whatever, and were leaving them money, and
Yeah.
so black women were showing up to vote and had money.
Yeah.
And so then they had to change that rule.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and it's weird because you think about the fact, and this really dives into this. This is a federal election,
Yeah.
so it is something that should be pretty much universal
Yeah.
across the entire country, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Like every state has their own rules. Like so, there are like in the Pacific there's like 3 states, Pacific Northwest primarily, where you automatically in the mail, like if you are registered to vote, you automatically get an absentee ballot. Like
Yeah.
it just happens. Places like Michigan, and I think it's 8 other states, you have to request one, and then you can do it. Places like and this was the really interesting thing about Texas to me, with how much they've had in Texas. Technically speaking, you have to have a valid reason why you cannot go vote on
Oh.
election day in order to even request a ballot. So I mean, it's weird, like how it and the things like if you're a felon, can you vote?
Yeah.
Depends on what state you live in.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the really cool stories in there is a guy, a formerly convicted felon, who basically led the drive to get that overturned in Florida. And the governor that vetoed it literally won the election by fewer votes than the number of felons that would have been allowed to vote had he not vetoed it. So then I think it was the Senate, one of the legislatures then overrode his veto. And so the next election they were able to vote and he was gone.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
like, but it is a fast, like I said, and it's only 25 minutes
Yeah.
long, and it's just a
I'm
fascinating
gonna
look
have to
at.
check it out.
Either way,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's important to vote, regardless of who you're voting
And
for.
I was also gonna say,
Just vote.
I was looking at just a little bit of data that's already coming in, and they're already, which I was shocked at this. Like Texas is looking like a swing right now. Like it might go.
So I mean, that's honestly not a huge surprise. You look at the Austins, so rural Texas
Yes.
and city Texas are 2 totally different things.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I mean, it's almost like
Yeah.
like Michigan.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Dave? Macomb County.
Oh well, yeah.
Lot
that's
of-
my-
there are
What's the political demographic?
Yeah, there are-
I live in Macomb County.
Oh.
there are 4 Trump signs in my little double cul-de-sac neighborhood that make me very uncomfortable. But so like that, that's the thing is, you look at Oakland County and Detroit and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
versus the Macomb counties or
Yeah.
some of the further north counties. That's why. And and for the love of God, here's the other thing, folks. Do not get complacent. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit how many polls come out
Yeah.
that say Biden's got a
Just keep
30-point lead, an
voting, yeah.
80-point lead.
'Cause
I
Hillary
do
did
not
too.
give a shit.
Yeah.
Get your ass out and vote.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing: you can walk into a city clerk's office right now, ask for a ballot. They check your ID,
Yeah.
make sure it matches up. you're good to go.
Yeah.
And go ahead. You can vote today.
Yeah.
You do not have to wait for.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is once you realize, like, first off, why the hell the first Tuesday in November? Like, weather is shitty in vast majorities of the country. The
Right.
first Tuesday in November, it's a work day. Like,
Yeah.
why isn't it a holiday? So, and I think that's one of the great things
Yeah.
you're seeing is with, I mean, possibly one of the good side effects of COVID and the quarantine that we've been in is as people have, oh my God, hey, you remove my barrier to voting
Yeah.
and let me vote remotely and
Yeah.
vote by mail and vote early,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the numbers are going through the roof.
Right.
What a novel effing concept.
Right.
What is happening
And
right
I
now?
also feel like, just to add on to like one of the positive side effects, which there's not a lot of Donald Trump, but like waking people the fuck up. Like, it's not just, I mean, Donald Trump, yes, but like the judges. And
So that's the thing. This has been
like, this has been an awakening.
Elections
for, like,
have consequences.
Our democracy.
Donald
And, yeah,
Trump.
Yeah.
Donald
But
Trump
he's just
has
a
appointed
symptom of
3
Yeah.
Supreme Court
Yeah,
justices.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. And not to mention like all of the other like
All the other federal
all the
appointments that
other
have happened and
federal
everything else. Yeah.
appointments. Like, I mean, it's terrifying.
So and that's
So-
that's why I've probably the only like arguments that I truly still get into anymore, because like I said I've stopped arguing with people.
Yeah.
But whenever I see a post that's like, well, without mentioning Trump, why are you voting for Biden? I will immediately dive in on that and just say,
Yeah.
look, that is a bullshit argument, because hating and loathing everything that someone stands for
Right.
is a perfectly valid reason to vote against them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
That's
exactly
there
right.
there is
Yeah.
Just like that's
Yeah.
why people would vote for Trump is they
'Cause-
hate and
and
loathe
loathe.
everything that
Crooked
Biden
Hillary,
stands for.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's not fair for you to say that one person can do it and not another. Like, everyone has the right to make a decision, and you should be able to go and vote for whoever you want to vote for. So just fucking do it. I don't care who you're voting for.
I do.
Just fucking do. I mean, we
I
all
mean-
care. We all care, but at the same time, it's like important for everyone to go vote.
Well,
It doesn't
because
matter.
the reality is, if you
it's
don't
important
vote,
to go vote.
you have no right to bitch.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
no.
can't be like,
if,
And-
oh,
yeah,
this
if
is
you
the way
don't
it
vote,
was.
I literally will not have a
And-
conversation.
No,
with
and
you
I
about
will, and I will,
anything.
and this like
No.
the other conversation I always dive into is with the third party voters.
Mm.
Like, oh, vote shaming. No. So here's the deal. There were 2 teams that
Yeah.
were in the NBA finals. If you were rooting for not one of those 2 teams,
Yeah.
it didn't matter. It
Didn't
did.
matter.
It was only those 2 teams. That's all that was
Yeah.
going to happen.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Like if you want but I'm always encouraging about it. Like, look, here's the deal. If you truly believe that because I do, the 2-party system is a shit show.
Awful.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. So then stop talking about this only every 4 years.
And go
Like, you should be making, like, those third party candidates have to come
and
from
go do
the local
elections.
elections. They
Thank
have
you.
you have to
Yes.
have them
Like,
gain
go-
strength all the way
if
up through.
you are serious about third-party candidates and you want a true viable third-party option, get out there, do the groundwork, make it happen in local elections. That's where it begins. It's a grassroots effort. It's not going to happen with just, putting in your vote last minute for, who was it in the last, I don't even remember, the last Green Party, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Steinberg or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyways, so let's talk about the vow.
Yeah, let's talk about the
goddamn
vow.
Yeah.
Go vote. Let's talk about the vow.
Okay, so we left off at the end of episode 4, beginning episode 5, and we're at a point where Sarah Edmondson, one of those key players, has defected, and they are basically doing everything they can to try to get her in trouble for leaving the group. They sent her things for like she should be arrested in Vancouver for theft and a bunch of other things, and we kind of find out that one of NXIVM's one of their things is, just like Scientology, is when you leave the group, they basically harass you left and fucking right.
And I
with
know a
lawsuits,
lot about Scientology.
with lawsuits and
I do.
and legalese, and they try to scare you into submission.
The
and
whole
to not,
suppressive persons thing
Yeah.
is like a Scientology term that, like, I mean, I don't know if that's like, obviously that's not where that came from, but I'm just saying, like, from all the years I've spent, like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to spit on you.
Sorry.
From all the years I've spent actually,
COVID.
like,
I'm hand sanitizing right now.
sanitizing. She goes COVID straight up. Like, nope, bitch, I've been hanging out with you all day.
I know.
So, all the years that I've spent actually protesting Scientology and going to Scientology churches and trying to tell people fucking don't do it, it's not from being like, I just don't like any other type of religion. It's that this is a cult. And I know it's a cult.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Most definitely. Anywhere else in the world.
Dude, there's a guy that I've been friends with for a very long time. And all of a sudden he started posting like L. Ron Hubbard
Oh,
quotes.
no.
And I was like,
They got him.
I was like, dude, like we need to talk.
They got him with
We
the
need to
stake in the
talk.
heart.
And-
they got him.
Oh no, we did, and he was, and it was funny, and like we had this whole cut, and like, and we got like into this really heated exchange on his wall,
Oh,
and he
Jesus.
deleted everything, and then he hit me up with a message, and he was like, dude, look, he's like, I respect you way too much for that to keep going on. He's like, here's the deal. He's like, he's like, I get it. He's like, I totally know where you're coming from. I see it for what it is. He's like, for me,
Cult?
so, and he's like, for me, it's basically psychology, but
Cult?
but he's like, but I don't. He's like, I'm not buying into the church shit. He's like, I'm not going to the stupid meetings. He's like, it's literally like a group of people that I hang out and talk with. And I said, okay, that's fine. That's how they get you.
Cult?
Yeah, right.
The entire thing
That's-
is a fucking
that's-
cult.
that's how they get
do
ya.
it.
So
Exactly. So that's the thing, is that like when everyone's doing this shit, it like, I'm like, this is what, just using the words defective or suppressive. It's like, these are things that they use against you to be like, everyone else that's also part of this cult, be aware that this person is
Right.
suppressive
Yeah.
and defected from us.
right, don't listen to that.
Don't listen to
There's
them.
You
They're
have to
crazy.
cut
off- with that.
They're
You have to cut off all
crazy.
contact.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's gaslighting 101.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
So basically, that's what they start doing to Sarah Edmondson. And there's this woman in the group. Her name is Kristen Keefe. And she's like their legal liaison. And they like show video of her from 2007. And basically, she's saying like, anybody who speaks out against Nexium, anybody who speaks out against what we're trying to do, like, we're only trying to do good. So we are going to come after you hard. We are going to she literally uses words like, we're going to scorch the earth, like coming after you.
Right.
Like if you speak out against this group. So fast forward to
also Scientology.
Chris,
Yeah, exactly.
So fast forward to Kristen
Exactly.
was one of several women that were like in this cohort that lived with Keith Raniere.
She was the legal liaison.
Yeah. Well,
Legal liaison.
that's what I want. Well, so Kristen was like living with Keith Raniere, and she was like one of several women sleeping with him, and
Again. Seems
Amazing.
like a fun ride if you're at.
It's not that bad.
How
I mean, other
fun was
you
it
know,
for
other than the
women involved?
shitty behavior and sex
They were
trafficking.
having a
I mean,
great
just other than
time,
that.
Lindsay.
Yeah.
So Kristen, she gets pregnant,
Uh-huh.
and she ends up like running, and just up and leaving the group. So the same woman who's saying we're gonna scorch the earth for Nexium ends up leaving. They show this really weird video of her, and she's like on her laptop, and she's like working on something, and Keith is like in the background over her shoulder, and he's like, some things in your body are gonna change. You will have different sensations in your body, and that's okay. And you can feel these different sensations and you can do these different things. And she looks at him and she's like, are you going to let me get back to my work? Like, you could just tell at that time, like, it was like, I'm going to fucking kill
we're
this.
done.
Like, I'm done. Like, I am running. Yeah, I'm having sensations in my body of I'm going to punch you in the face. And so it's like this really weird interaction that they have, and she ends up leaving the group and just going like MIA. And then we hear about Claire Bronfman. And she's the one of the two sisters. There's Claire and Sarah Bronfman
Of
Seagrams, and they are the ones financing NXIVM. And so they are paying for all of this litigation that is constantly happening in NXIVM against their enemies. So they basically have like an endless fund to just go after people and just ruin their lives.
I mean, people have historically bought a lot of ginger ale and whiskey. Like, let's be clear. Like, there's a reason why they have all this money.
No, that's absolutely right.
It's true. Seagram's has a lot of different stuff.
See, and it does, but I just remember like the old Seagram's golden wine, cool. Like I remember those Happy commercials, and I'm like, I gave like
they have wine coolers. They have wine.
I've given money to these bitches.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Same.
And like now
I've worked at places that have given them a fuck ton of money,
and now I feel bad. Like I feel like I
started this. I started NXIVM.
I'm funding a sex call.
Exactly, and not getting laid by multiple women. Like I feel like there should have been. Like there
some kind of kickback.
Where are my women?
On the bottles of Seagrams, it should have been, hey, like with 10 bottle purchase, you get your own brainwash bitch.
You get like 1%.
We're gonna send you one Allison Mack.
Right. You get like 3 hours a month.
When you get 100 Allison Macks, you get one sex session.
You get a
card with punches.
You get punch cards. Why were there no Seagrams punch cards? Like what?
Where are my NXIVM punch cards, please? Thanks, Seagrams.
So what we learn is that NXIVM has been dealing with bad press for a long time, way before these people started like defecting.
Well, because it started, if I recall correctly, and I, again, brain lag last week.
Me too.
It was like this all started as part of the EST movement way back in the day. And so those not familiar with EST, like that was a thing in the 60s. And it was part of like the whole hippy dippy, be in touch with your feelings. Let's all just drop acid and get our groove on, man. Yeah. And then it became a big thing. It became a bigger thing in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So like the foundations of this go back decades.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why you hear things like, the guy that just got 120 years. He's like, well, I'm just the latest guy. I was told this was cool.
This has been going on forever.
Yeah.
Well, so bad press about NXIVM has been happening for a really long time. There's a specific there was the Times Union that was reporting on a lot of it, but not only the Times Union that was reporting on a lot of it, but the Frank Report was reporting on a lot of it because this guy Frank Perlota, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but anyways, he was a publicist for Keith way back when, and they were publishing like all these articles about women that had like left the group and how their lives were being basically ruined by Keith, but it was just these small publications, so it wasn't like, it wasn't the New York Times reporting on it. And so So Keith always had like this way of like saying like, okay, this bad press is because of, there's ways to basically like talk yourself out of this bad press and whatever is happening. So eventually Claire Bronfman sets up a meeting between Keith and the Dalai Lama.
Big hitter, the llama.
Wild. Yeah.
Big hitter.
Big hitter, the llama. Yeah, you're right.
Gunga, Lagunga.
the first meeting is canceled because of this negative press about the group. So
Right. And so, like, which
yeah,
one would expect because,
Right.
okay, so the Dalai Lama is supposed to be like, the reincarnation, Buddha, all
yeah,
that thing.
he ain't.
He's like that. Yeah, you should not want to be anywhere around any of that stuff. Like that's
This is the second time I'm talking shit about the Dalai Lama in the podcast.
Like literally just being like, fuck that guy.
I mean, he has, like I already said, like
Oh,
he has some
stop.
really awful things to say about women. But okay. So,
Yes,
anyways,
I agree.
so
Well,
then
yeah.
they decide to go to the Dalai Lama. They're gonna fly to the Dalai
because
Lama.
if the llama will not come to you,
They'll go to the
you
Lama.
should go to the llama.
And so they go there to convince the Dalai Lama of Keith's innocence, and they win him over.
Oh no! Not like. And the funny part is, like, you don't actually see them winning him over.
Oh
like
yeah, it's
the,
like
the,
after
like
the
the
fact.
llama just like the llama went from, okay, look, you're gonna need to prove to me that
Yeah.
all of these lawsuits are false
Yeah.
and that none of this is based in reality.
Yeah.
Because it's the llama, and the llama has the NPR
Right.
voice, and so that's how the llama talks. But then all of a sudden the llama's like, oh my God, he looks innocent.
Yeah, and that is what,
What-
he says. Like
what?
he looks innocent.
He looks
Yeah,
innocent.
that's what he
Yo,
says.
what the fuck does that
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I just want to know. What the fuck does that mean?
He looks innocent. So, but the bad press keeps on coming after that.
Because the hits just keep on
They
coming.
keep on coming.
Keep
so
your feet on the ground.
Then,
Keep reaching for the stars.
then we come to find out that Keith has been
I
having
can
sex
smell your
with.
scotch.
Oh shit, you're
Oh,
drinking
this is Red.
scotch?
No, this is Red Bull.
Oh.
No.
I feel like I can
Like
smell
shit.
whiskey at least. Are you drinking whiskey?
No.
No? What the fuck am
Not
I
me.
smelling?
Are you sweating it out?
Probably what the
I might be sweating it out. You might. It's me.
All right, so bad press keeps on coming. Come to find out that Keith has been having sex with underage girls.
That's weird.
Um,
Probably shouldn't do that.
A cult leader having sex with
Yeah,
Wait,
Hold on.
Hark? Wait,
Gasp.
gasp?
alloweth me to clutcheth my
Cometh-
pearls.
Cometh
Let me
again?
go onto my chaise lounge.
I may need a mint
My-
julep. I got the vapors.
I
So,
can't.
one of these girls ends up committing suicide. But Keith,
Wow, way to stop the
I know,
laughter real
right? I
quick.
know,
Thanks.
I
That was
know, I
a
know, I'm
great transition.
sorry.
Yeah.
I literally had to be really
so,
bad.
but Keith has answers for everything, and he basically says all of this is just garbage, and none of it is true. That's when they established this group in Nexium called The Knife. And this was basically a media company that analyzed news for objectivity or lack thereof. And yeah, wow. I don't
So
even,
are you telling the truth about us or not?
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but interestingly enough, one of the guys that who was like the head or like deeply involved in The Knife, he ends up going on like Fox News during like the Trump election. And one of these reporters is like, oh, so basically when the president said this is fake news, this is fake news. And he's like, well, there's some truth to it, but you can exaggerate the truth. Or you can make the truth sound
Well, it's
any way you want it.
There are
like,
there are
yeah.
three different kinds. There are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics.
exactly.
Because you can make statistics say anything you want.
Exactly.
Like that's so. Again, not to sidebar, but like my other big argument that I've been getting into over the past 2 days is people that are sharing the stupid meme that says, "Well, everybody's talking about like record numbers of COVID cases and yada 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 and percentages and da. Well, the first week of April it was an 80% positive rate, and now we're only at 10%. Okay, well, dipshits. That's because at the first week of April, the only people getting tested
Right.
were the ones getting admitted to the hospital."
Right. Right.
With-
Not
with-
everyone
with
is
COVID.
getting tested.
And so
Right.
everyone getting tested
Right.
had COVID.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's now you can go to like the little urgent care by your house and get one every 15 minutes if you want to.
But Dave, math is hard.
But math is hard.
Well, dude, that's not even math. That's
I know,
just
I know.
like comprehension and
comprehension is hard.
Context is hard. Context is very hard for people.
So Nexium,
Critical thinking.
Nexium basically sends cease and desist orders to Sarah, Mark Vicente, Bonnie, anybody who ends up leaving the group. They go to New York Times with this story because remember Catherine Oxenberg dynasty, she has some pull and is able to get in touch with this New York Times reporter. And basically this New York Times reporter says, this is all fine and dandy, but what's really going to seal this story is if we get people on the record. Like, we need more people on the record. So, also at the time that they're trying to go to New York Times with this article, it keeps getting pushed back because of the chaos of the world. Like, at that time, it was 2016, we had Trump. We had, like, all of these natural disasters happening in the United States. So New York Times was looking at this story as, like, an evergreen kind of article. Like, we can release this at any time, and it's going to get press, and it's going to get, like, the kind of reaction that we're looking for. However, these natural disasters, things happening with Trump, this is what people want to read about right now.
Right.
So they're not wanting to read about your little weird sex cult that you keep telling us about. So the guy the journalist that they are talking to is Barry Meyer, and he's so funny because he's so me. He's talking about how he has immunity to Nexium bullshit. And I said same, because he was like, I couldn't help myself. Like, I don't want to help myself. Like, nobody is going to help me help myself. Like, I am a creature of habit. Like, there's no, I'm immune to this bullshit. So I just thought that was really funny. So then, I don't know, am I moving too fast?
No.
Okay, so we're going to move into episode 6.
Boom.
All right. So this is when the Me Too movement happens. And Sarah Edmondson decides to write her own Me Too tweet. And basically was like, this happened to me when I was in a pub in England. This happened to me when I was at, like, a rave in Israel. And then it happened to me when I was in Albany, New York. When I was held down on a table, I was branded and blah, blah. And she's talking about her Nexium brand and then does the hashtag Me Too. Shortly after, New York Times publishes front page this story of Nexium.
Finally.
Well, and they had held on to it. So the rationale was that it's a quote unquote evergreen story. And so people, those familiar with podcasts, know that you have topical and you have evergreen content. They're two different kinds of things. Like, so topical is what's going on right now. Evergreen is the kind of stuff that's relevant forever. Mm-hmm. So when you are dealing with, and I kind of understand the rationale here, where you're dealing with something that has been going on for decades. Mm-hmm. There's no real rush to publish.
It's like no sense of urgency to...
there's no huge, like, there's no ticking time bomb. There's like this shit's been going on
forever.
It's still going to be going on. So yes, it's a story. Yes, it's an important thing, but there's other shit that has our attention right now.
Right. Absolutely. Then we see Barbara Boucher. So everyone's reaching out to Sarah and Mark.
Which is not from The Waterboy, just to be clear.
Right. Yeah, I know, right? Sounds like that. So Barbara Boucher, everyone is kind of like reacting to this front page story, and Barbara Boucher reaches out to Sarah Edmondson because she was kind of like her mentor in sales when she was in the group. And
Barbara was also like the top selling person.
She was a top field salesperson when she was in the group. She was also part of a group that came out against Raniere years before, but he basically sued her into oblivion. So we see Sarah just kind of, she becomes consumed with reading all these negative comments about
That's one
New
of the
York
ways that we
Times.
realize that he thinks that he can just get away with anything, because it's like, if no matter
Right.
what he's doing,
Right.
it doesn't really matter.
And
At the end of the day, he feels like he can just sue people
Right.
into silence.
Right.
Well, so and that's the sad reality of America is that that's true. Is
No, it is.
anybody, and so this is like one of those. Like everybody talks about like reforms. Like I truly believe there should be a panel of I'm going with 5 people because I think that's reasonable. Where you have
That's reasonable.
you have like 2 conservatives, 2 liberals, and 1 like whatever, or even like 1, 1, and 3. I'm fine. And every lawsuit that gets filed anywhere, and every county has to have this panel. Every lawsuit that gets filed has to go through that panel.
it would drive down our prices
And if
of
you
insurance.
if you
You're
can't
right.
if you can't get a majority decision from that
Yeah.
panel that your suit has merit and should go forward, it's tossed.
yeah.
I completely
like
agree
that.
with that. I think that's a great idea, actually. Why the fuck aren't we doing
Because it's far too logical.
that?
It'll
Oh
never
my
happen.
God, that's
Anyway,
so
it'll never-
logical.
So then we see Barbara's story. So Barbara was in a relationship with Keith.
So, and I feel like there are so many I don't think you guys touched. Like, there are so many parallels here to one of the things that kept coming up through the Epstein documentary. Is so many of these people come from broken homes, broken
Yes.
childhoods, like those kind of situations, and which leave them vulnerable to this kind of influence and this
Sure.
kind of situation.
I will say yes and no, though, because I think that Bonnie makes a really good point later on, because Catherine Oxenberg's talking about her daughter India, and she's like, I did everything to ensure that my child had the best childhood. And Bonnie's like, how about that? How about that's the people that they want? They want the people that are perfectly capable of
Yeah.
wrangling in people. They want the people that trust implicitly. They want the people that aren't broken.
Right.
They've
had good
right.
good relationships their entire lives.
So I can see it from both angles.
Sure.
Because
I mean,
too.
you want them, but they're not the easy targets.
Oh no! Well, I don't know, because it seems like India got in rather easily, and so
Well,
did,
India was brought in because her mother
Her
was part
mom.
of it. So it's
Yeah.
like I feel like she was kind of like raised into it in like
Well,
a different
and-
way than other people
well,
are, where they're
Kat-
brought
yeah,
in.
That's
you know,
true. I mean, but what about Bonnie? I mean, like Bonnie was like, Mark Vicente was like, give me 5 days and I'll change your
Sure,
life.
no, I'm not trying to say that nobody has ever been convinced, because I
Yeah.
feel like 90% of people that are in there have been
Yeah.
convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are all adults.
Yeah.
But then there are some people that are kind of just like not necessarily born into it, but they've been raised into it. And I've seen in multiple of the shots that they've showed of people that were pregnant currently during these things, and it's just like, okay, you have people that are literally going to be raising kids from infancy directly into this cult. And how are you going to convince those children that they're wrong with something that they were raised into?
Mhm.
I'm just saying.
So, Barbara talks about how she had this relationship with Keith, and she didn't realize that when she got into this relationship that Keith was basically having sex with everyone. And he was living in this house with 4 women, this cohort where we talked about Chris and Keefe. Cafe? I don't know.
Cafe?
Covfefe? What?
Kafifi?
And she talked about how the fact, like, okay, I would go over there, but every time I went over there, it seemed like all the women would, like, move off the couch. I was the one sitting next to Keith. So it seemed like it was, like, Keith living with 4 female roommates. And, like, it was platonic and, like, whatever.
Come and knock on our door.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been waiting for you.
Exactly. And so then they show this weird party. They show this really weird party that they're all at, and there's like these blow up penises. It looks like they're at a bachelorette
Is
party.
this the one where like the girls walking around
Yeah,
with, like,
with
a
a
chest
fake
plate,
chest,
and
right.
then they have like dudes walking around
And they
with, like,
just
fake
show
dicks.
and they just show Keith like kissing
Oh,
every
yeah.
single girl. He's holding hands threesomes with every single girl. He's making these disgusting sexual innuendos that you're just like, oh, barf, gross, ugh, skeevy. It's so skeevy. And that's
Stevie.
it's so skeevy, but that's where Barbara Boucher kind of realizes, like, oh, he's fucking everyone.
Yeah.
And he is.
Gasp.
Yes.
Right.
Wild. We had no clue.
Wild.
Hell surprise.
Yeah. So Barbara, after that, starts pulling away, and people start coming to her within the group that are like noticing these hierarchy issues, and they have concerns about what is happening with Keith and these women that surround him. And then we go into, at that point, the board for NXIVM consisted of all women that he was sleeping with. And Barbara...
Gasp.
Right.
How convenient.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that special?
Right. So Barbara decides to basically hold this forum with all the women.
And for the record, not Penthouse Forum.
Didn't even think about that.
Not that.
So Barbara holds this forum with all the women and Keith, and I believe it was like 9 of them. And they had issues with the control strategies that he was using, citing a conflict of interest caused by intimacy and secrecy, perpetuating a circle around Keith that they do not question your authority. So how are you making the best decisions for your company? And how is anything...
Right. What is happening at this
What is
point?
happening at this
What
place?
is happening?
What is happening at this place? Like, this is not legitimate. Something is fucking off. So Keith does one of the classic, if it's true for you, therefore it is true to some degree. And I wrote, like, basically it was his version of, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Exactly.
Like, fuck you,
I'm sorry I made you
Keith.
upset.
Like, oh,
I'm sorry that you're angry with
I'm
everyone.
sorry I'm fucking all these women and you don't like it. It is true to some degree. Like,
It's
What
the
a
old
weird thing to
Obi-Wan
say,
Kenobi
though.
from
Yeah.
a certain point of view.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what a weird thing to say. Like,
I mean,
okay, we're going to say, oh, it might be true
Right.
to some degree. And I'm just like, if somebody is coming to you being like, if this is true, that's fucked up.
yeah.
And then you say, this is true to some degree, then I would be like, that's fucked up.
But it's also like gaslighting because you're like, if it's true for
it's
you,
you're crazy for thinking
if it's
that's
true
more
for
than
you,
that.
then it must be true to some degree. Like my truth isn't reality.
Right.
Well, but so that also again kind of a parallel to the Epstein thing. Like so that a lot of her comments and some of the stuff feed into that whole. It's not just that you get sucked in;
Yeah.
it's that you get sucked in, and then you in turn start sucking in others.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're bringing other people into your shit.
And then he says something else that's really interesting. He goes, because she's asking for transparency within the company, and he goes, transparency does not mean in front of everyone all the time. Like and then he basically goes on to say, like, yeah, of course there's people that I am closer to and
Sure.
that I tell my secrets to, like, of course, and not everything is going to be transparent with everyone all the time. But I'm just like, okay, yes, I agree with that statement. However, that's not what you seem to be preaching to the masses.
Yeah, you're not exactly saying like,
Right.
oh, this is just all the time.
Right.
It's like this is sometimes, and if it's sometimes, then that's not okay because there's like a standard that you uphold with
Right.
your followers.
Yeah, and then Barbara brings up something really interesting. She's like, Keith, you told me if I have any kind of emotional reaction to anything, this alters your health. Like, I am not allowed to have an emotional reaction to anything because of how it affects you.
Right.
And that's just like
He's
super
allowed to
fucked up.
have emotional reactions, but you
Well,
are not.
I don't even know, like, and we'll get more into that because remember, like, episode 8, like,
Sure.
8 or 9 when he talks about, like, women and all that bullshit. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, so all of the 9 women that were in this group, in this forum, they all resign and they shut down their centers. And they asked for their money back. Basically, like, any money that we've invested in the company or any money that was owed to us, we want this money back. And they wrote requests. They wrote these requests and they said, if you don't do this, we're going to contact the press. And so then Keith decides to go to the rest of the people that are still drinking the Kool-Aid and holds his own little conference and to save face basically with the members. And he's like, it was a meeting to receive feedback on myself. And all of the feedback is valid, by the way. And it's just like, oh, you are such a skeeve. Like, you're just again being like, yes, I'm the most rational human being. Yes, it was all valid feedback. Bullshit. You didn't think it was valid because then after this, you go and file litigation after litigation after litigation against these women to the point where they are all in financial ruin, to the point where, like, one of them is like, I am working as, like, a DJ at a, like, little local pub on the weekends just to make ends meet because I've been sued into utter oblivion by Keith Raniere. So, no, don't tell me my point is valid. You don't think that. So, anyways, Claire Bronfman files civil and criminal charges saying Barbara extorted and blackmailed. And then this is where the Dalai Lama schedules a visit to Albany.
Right.
All right. Episode 7.
Okay. Just so you know, this is going to be the last episode for tonight because we have to shut down in half an hour. So we're going to do episode 7. And then next week, we're going to finish up with 8 and 9.
Perfect. Okay. So episode 7, Oxenberg is talking to her mom, who's Princess Elizabeth, about contacting the Dalai Lama. Because she's like, hey, if you have any kind of pull, maybe you want to let him know that he endorsed a sex cult. Maybe you want to let him know.
Just a little bit.
Maybe you want to let him know that.
He might be aware.
So, Catherine meets with Frank Parlato of the Frank Report. And he's an investigative journalism. And basically, his whole goal in life is to expose NXIVM. And so she consults with Frank and his lawyers. And they present a huge list of possible crimes against Keith. And it ranges from slavery, kidnapping, medical malpractice, and human trafficking. And basically, they just want to expose this because Catherine's like, the New York Times story didn't take it far enough. Like,
and they didn't.
Right. And
it didn't.
It's not.
It didn't delve into how deep this story actually is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then, Claire Bronfman, we find out, loaned $65 million to the company, but they can't repay it. And basically, they say that, like, NXIVM is cooking their books because they're saying, like, NXIVM doesn't bring in any money to be able to repay this $65 million loan. So that's, like, another major thing that they want to, like, present
$65 million is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot
How
of
the
money.
fuck does anyone get that kind of money?
Well, be the heiress of ginger ale.
Be the heiress of ginger ale.
And soda water and tonic.
And whiskey and
whiskey
gin.
and everything else.
Basically everything.
In life. So, so basically, Frank's lawyer is there as well because Frank, I'm sure, has been sued into oblivion just for writing all of these stories about NXIVM.
Love it.
Frank's lawyer is there, and he's like, you know, this sounds like a really good list. And he was like, but what you need is an overwhelming amount of witnesses to testify that, like, these women that were in DOS none of this was a consensual relationship. Like, this branding wasn't consensual. This master-slave thing was not consensual. You need to find witnesses. So she reaches out to a bunch of defectors, so people who had left the group, and they want to get at least 100 letters written to the FBI, to anyone that will listen in law enforcement. And they're basically preparing a dossier, which I love that word.
I love the word dossier.
Dossier.
It reminds me of Archer, too, because Archer's always like, did you read the dossier? And I'm like, oh, my God, I love dossier.
I love a dossier.
We've watched so many documentaries where they say docket or documentary or document.
No, it's a dossier.
It's a dossier.
Okay, so then we learn about Tony Natalie, which is a former girlfriend, and she basically explains to us Keith Raniere's former relationship with MLMs. So after he left Amway, he started Consumers Byline.
We've talked about MLMs.
Yeah. So Consumers Byline, dude, you gotta see if you could just go and YouTube Consumers Byline and look at Keith Raniere's stupid fucking hair in these commercials. It is so like Dumb and Dumber. Like the straight bangs, like right across.
The fucking bangs I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's literally like just like bangs
Stupid
like this.
bangs. So anyways, so basically this is like an MLM, which it sounds weird now living in the time of like online shopping and stuff, but like it was a group of people who, it sounds like they bought coupons and they sold it to people, but they were basically
Like,
saying,
I have coupons for your coupons.
they were basically saying like, if we come at them with like this buying power, you know, we're gonna get the better deal. And it's so weird. But what the weirdest thing is this was the fastest growing MLM during the 90s.
Ever.
During
Yeah.
the 90s. So when Tony got there, she noticed it's like a lot of young people working, and there's this energy in the room, and they're making these calls and making these deals and doing all this great stuff. And I wrote speed.
Speed. It's just that.
And then shortly after this, enter Nancy Salzman. So Nancy Salzman is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. That's what she does. And Keith and her are a match made in hell. And
It's so sinister.
so basically, Nancy realizes, like, Keith has, like, some sort of power, but Nancy can make it realized.
Yeah.
And so she goes to him and is basically like, I want to team up, and, like, I feel like whatever you're doing, I can help and make it 10 times better,
Yep.
or 10 times fucking worse. And so Tony describes, after she ends up leaving the group, we don't fully see the relationship, but Tony ends up, after leaving the group, unrelenting stalking after she breaks up with Keith, because for whatever reason she ends up breaking up with him. We'll get into that later. And Keith says to her, when she leaves Keith, he says to her, I'll see you in jail or I'll see you dead. And
I think you'll see her in jail.
he cancels her credit cards, he cancels her health insurance, he files lawsuits, he forced her to file bankruptcy, he had the FBI investigate her. And then enter Pam. Remember Pam?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay. So Pam, she was tasked at the time of all of this to bring women into the family. Yeah. The family. What kind of cult does that remind you of?
Manson.
Yeah, right? Okay, so Pam was tasked with bringing women into the family. And Tony was one of those women. And Tony describes a relationship where Pam was super loving and, like, always had our back. And, like, they were family.
It's just like when we think
1000%.
about the last girl with Jackie. You know, it was like the relationship that they had was very, like, loving and caring and, like, sisterly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm confiding in this woman because we have this, like, bond with each other.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, give me the deed to your house and let me take videos of you.
And, like, I don't know, because from what it sounds like from Tony, it doesn't sound like that Pam was even that skeevy. Like, it sounded
No, but I'm
like,
just saying it like, it's like the type
I
of
get what you're saying.
relationship.
Yeah.
Where
I
it's
get what
like,
you're
I
saying.
trust you wholeheartedly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But this is the fucked up part. So when Tony ends up leaving the group, Pam never reaches out. And she was like, I thought I had a sisterhood with this woman. Like, I thought this woman was my best friend. I confided in her everything. And when I left, nothing. Crickets. Like, she had devoted her life so thoroughly to Keith that
she
there
would
was
even
no
speak to me.
way that she was even gonna speak to her after that. So, then, Tony reveals, like, this is the very end of episode 7, so we can wrap it up right after this. But Tony reveals that Keith had sent her, like, a death timeline. So, yeah, he was
Hard
like,
pass.
Yeah, he was basically like, here you are. And it was like the most childish drawing you could imagine. It's like the most basic, stupid graph in the world. It was like,
It's like, here's
here
a
you
line,
are,
and
and
here's where you could
dead.
be. Yeah,
And it was just like, here's your time. Here's your death timeline. You leave the group, you're dead.
It reminded me of back in the day. I was trying to explain, like, how bad a situation was to somebody while we were sitting in a bar, because, like, we were drinking after work because shit was just all screwed up. And I took a bar napkin and I drew a little star on it, and I said, "This is the star named fucked." And then I drew a big line over and I said, "This is where we are.
Super fucked.
We are so far beyond fucked that it takes the light from the star named fucked 100 million years to reach us."
Oh, God, you're such a nerd using fucking
So
space shit. God, dude. Okay, so basically, yes, in even more simplistic terms, Keith sends Tony this, like, death line where he's like, here you are, and here you are dead. And
Right.
basically, this is going to be used in court of him, like,
I'm going to use this against you.
yeah, absolutely. 1,000% I should. You fucking tried to terrify me. You made me claim bankruptcy. You canceled my health insurance.
You
did
child
all-
molester.
You child molester. You all of these things. So, anyways, Keith sucks. So that's the end of episode 7.
I know. So and we have 2 more episodes still.
damn.
So
It's like the never-ending
I
fucking
know.
story,
and we know
dude.
that there's going to be a season 2.
I am so
we
over
are
this
like, let's
story.
go. Like, let's
I
fucking
am
go.
just so over it. I can't. Even though I have to say, though, like, I'm not just saying this because I want you to listen to our podcast, but I'm saying episode 8 and 9 are so
They're the
fucked
best.
up.
They're the best. They're the best.
Like, those could have been the only 2
Yes,
episodes.
Right.
exactly
Right.
right.
Like, they literally,
literally-
again, which again gets back to,
So
this was like 4 episodes too long. This is probably like 7 episodes too long.
y'all
They could have just done
get
8
the
and
fuck
9,
on
and it was
it.
good.
Watch 8 and 9. We're gonna be back next week.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about them. We'll maybe talk about some other stuff
Probably
too.
not. Let's
I
just
don't
get through
know.
8 and
but
9
let's
and
just say let's get
fuck
through
it.
8 and 9. But
See, I feel like next week there'll be a few things going on in the country worth
I'm
talking
sure.
about.
I'm
Yeah.
Oh,
sure. I
God.
think
Oh, my
next
God.
week we're gonna have.
I will
plenty to
either
talk
be
about.
crying with like a bag of whiskey IV'd
As an
into
IV
my
drip, yeah.
arm, or I will be like popping
Right.
bottles. Woo!
There's-
Woo!
there's-
We're having a great
There's no middle of the road.
Yeah, there is no.
There is no.
Yeah.
It's going to be one or the other. So
Oh, Jesus
definitely come
Christ.
back next week. Listen to
Pray
us.
for
Come
us.
back and let us know what's going on. If you have something you want us to watch too, or if you have something that you want to say, please send us a message. Go on our Facebook, go on our Instagram, go on our Gmail. Come on and talk to us and let us know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Because we want to hear about it.
Yep.
So otherwise, this was a great episode, and I hope that you guys all enjoyed it. Make
Yep.
sure you join us again.
Watch 8 and 9 for next week.
8 and
and go vote and
Go vote.
goodbye.
Okay, bye.